If you're watching this video, I hope that means that you have gotten your hands on one of our brand new sprinkle pens. When you get it, you'll want to remove it from its packaging, and you can see here that it comes in a nice little clear case. There is a little bit of work that goes into getting it started, and hopefully this video will explain exactly what you need to do. You can see here there is no tip or any material sticking out of the end of the pen, and that's where most people have a question. So you'll initially just feel like you need to turn it, and it kind of works, but you have to remember that we are working to get material that is thicker in diameter out of an end that is smaller in diameter. At room temperature, the material inside the pen is a little firm, which is why we are actually going to use some heat to get the sprinkle pen started. You can do this by running your pen just under some warm water for several seconds, or you can see here, I am using an actual hair dryer. This is real time, so you can see about how long you'll need to heat your pen up. Now keep in mind that I had already twisted this slightly, so I've built up some pressure in there. And as you warm it up, you can see that the material will start to come out as it's heated up. You don't want to twist over and over and over again. You just want to twist enough to where there's some pressure behind it, heat it up, and you'll see that the material will begin to extrude. If you've twisted it too many times, you've built up so much pressure that once you apply that heat, it will just keep extruding way too much material. If that happens, you can actually save the material that's extruded and put it back into your pen at a later date. So you can see here, even though I've only twisted it about one time all the way around, it's extruded more than I actually need. Once the material comes out of the pen, you can use your fingers to manipulate it and create any sort of shape that you want to use. So if you're trying to pick up little tiny balls, I recommend a pointed tip. But if you're trying to pick up larger objects, you can actually push down on the pen and form it to that shape so you can pick it up over and over again. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. You also want to make sure that you let the pen come back to room temperature. If you try to use it right away, something like this will happen. Either the tip will break off very easily because that material is a little too pliable still, or it'll just continue to get misshapen. If your tip breaks off, give it another little twist and more material will extrude. If it's still warm, this should be super easy. If it's cooled down too much, then you can heat it back up, or you can just apply a little bit of extra pressure. You don't want to twist the pen when it's super hard to twist because you risk breaking the plunger. So just use your best judgment here. If you feel like you're going to break it, add some heat and it'll make it super easy for that material to come out. Now that I've created a new tip and I'd let that pen come back to room temperature, I'm able to use it very easily. Now notice here I put way too much pressure when trying to pick up one of the sprinkles. You really don't need very much pressure at all to lift the sprinkles, and that will come as you learn how to use the pen. But if that happens, again, use your fingers and reshape that tip. You can reshape it countless times. So a lot of misunderstanding with the pen is that every time you pick up a sprinkle, you have to extrude more material, and that is not the case. You can reuse this tip until it becomes dirty, breaks off, or you just decide that you're ready for a fresh start. So as you can see here, barely any pressure is needed, but if you are going to be picking up the same type of sprinkle over and over, let's say you're using 8mm dragées, you can apply a little bit more pressure and actually make that tip conform to the dragée, and it will be really easy to pick up the same shape consistently. So to recap, your sprinkle pen is going to come in a nice clear case that we want you to store that pen in between uses. That will prolong the longevity of your tip. If at any point you feel like your tip becomes too misshapen to continue using or too dirty, simply pinch it off, give your pen another little twist, and you can create a whole new food safe tip. Don't forget, we're not twisting the pen a bunch of times in a row. You want to give it a little twist, wait, twist again, wait, and if it's too hard to twist, apply a little bit of heat and your tip should extrude very easily. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. I am happy to help.